Hello and welcome to today's video on high altitude investing. In today's VIP video, I'm going to be going over the difference between trade setups and experimentation and some things that you need to understand about those. Alright, so I'm on my screen here and let's talk about setups. Now, what is a trade setup? Well, a trade setup is basically a certain pattern that when you see it, you know that there's a certain percentage chance, so a certain percentage probability that you will have a certain outcome. So that's a trade setup. You want to be looking for these. If you're trading and you're just kind of experimenting, that's okay, but understand that it's experimenting. If you have a trade setup, that's something you'll repeat over and over and over and over again and consistently get that because you know that the percentages don't change. It has the same probabilities. Now, let's talk about a trade setup that I use, which is the ascending triangle formation. Now, the ascending triangle formation, I have a VIP video on it. You can check it out in the VIP playlist if you like. But ascending triangle formations are an extremely good trade setup. Here's an ascending triangle formation that occurred in XRP. Let's go back and look and see what that looked like back in the day. Now, here's the trade setup. As you can see, this very, very, very flat line at the top, and then you have this curve here. Now let's draw this out. Oops, let's take it out here. We have this curve which goes out quite a ways, as you can see, and then we take this and we throw this on top, and that shows the setup. Normally you want to be looking for this shape, something that just broke out of lows, like how XRP did, just broke out of these lows, and then you have this shape right here. That's what you want to look for. If you see that, you can draw the trend line from here over, and you'll have your ascending triangle set up, even if you do not have all of the candlesticks formed, right? If you see this in a chart, if you look and you see this, you can go ahead and throw this triangle on here, and that bottom trend line you want to drag out all the way over here, so you'll have to drag into the area where there isn't price. Pretend that right here this candle action hasn't happened yet in this zone. So if we pretend that this candlestick pattern hasn't happened yet, you can still draw this formation by only seeing this triangle right here and going from the bottom to the bottom. And then you draw that line out and you draw the top line. Now, the way that this setup works, sometimes if it's a strong trend with good fundamentals, I will buy the ascending triangle at the low here. This is what I'm doing in XRP right now. I'm buying this the next ascending triangle that it's in currently. So I buy this low and then I sell at the breakout. So I sell right here. This is the breakout point. That's previous resistance. So previous resistance happens at the top of that triangle shape you're looking for. Now, when you get to previous resistance, I sell. I usually sell when it breaks a little bit above. And then I look to enter just a little bit below because it normally has a little volatility at that resistance. See this volatility here when it came to resistance? Now, this is where I look to re-enter because ascending triangle formations make moves that are this big, the same size as the initial pump, the initial triangle pump. It'll make another move on top, at least that size. So let's forward test and see if that's true. Yes, that is very true. XRP basically finished topping out right here. So in this case, the ascending triangle setup worked very nicely. You could get, see what this percentage gain was. You would have got about 60% off the inside of the triangle pump. So the first trade in the setup. And then the second trade in the setup, you would have gotten another 50%. So that's a really, really good setup, right? Now, the reason that you use setups is for risk and reward. If you're looking for something with a good risk to reward ratio, this is a good setup. If you have your stop down here at 10%, it's very, very, very unlikely it will break below the low if you enter here in the ascending triangle. And but that's only if it has good fundamentals on a nice trend, because the first one here, this first, if you buy inside the triangle shape, inside this cone, then you want to make sure that it has a nice strong trend here. It is a little more risky to buy this buy right here, this first trade, but I generally do because the markets have super good conditions right now, so I just buy it anyways. And those conditions I don't see going anywhere for at least a little while. So this other top here, this is where you would normally enter. This is official. If you're looking for this setup, the official entry is on the breakout right here at 14K. So you buy at the top line, the resistance on this setup. Like I said, I normally buy down here if it's a good fundamental with good trends because I like that extra profit. But generally, this is where the risk to reward ratio is the best. Because look, if you come back here and if you look at the chart like this, right, and you see how much XRP has gone up, and you see how there's a resistance right here, and it's already back to that resistance, of course it has a really low chance of dropping down, right? It's going to have a very low chance of dropping down because it's just came up to previous resistance with so much strength. This move right here, where it climbed up to previous resistance with all of that strength, do you think it's going to go down when it hits it? No. It has the highest probability of breaking it, actually. So that's the setup I look for, is that ascending triangle setup. And like I said, I buy down here and I buy right here. So that was a lot to take in, but it's very simple at the end of the day. You want to have a trade setup. So whether you use this one, which is mine, well, it's not mine, but it's the one that I generally use, or I kind of found it and developed around other people's pointers. Nobody just showed me this, but if you find your own way through experimentation, that's the key part, is it's experimentation if you don't have a trade setup. So if you find a trade setup through experimentation that you can recreate, then you can use that trade setup, right? That's yours. But if you are just looking for a trade setup to trade, understand that there's a difference between that and just buying something and experimenting with the markets. Experimenting is very good, but you want to be using setups that you understand if you're going to consistently bet day trading, because you have to understand the probabilities of it having a certain outcome off of a certain setup. Now, we are in another ascending triangle inside of Ripple. This is my theory, my charting theory, is that we are in another ascending triangle. And so if that's the case, here's the triangle shape, the same little triangle shape. It's actually bigger now. This one's much bigger. So this would be the low in the ascending triangle shape. So this is where I have started to personally buy quite a bit of Ripple. Been talking about it, tweeting about it. So this is the bottom, and if we start to climb up into this trend here, and the key with ascending triangles is you want it to break before it goes really far to the end of the triangle. So like in this case, the previous ascending triangle, what I mean by break is prices break. In this case, the previous ascending triangle, so you can see it could have gone a lot further to the end of the triangle. You don't want that. You do want it to break above the triangle fairly early so that prices don't go into the end of the cone very long. So I'll be watching for some little things like that, as how long is the price going into that cone, to give me indications of how strong the uptrend is. But if we break into this like I think we're going to, which is going to be very quickly and very hard up out of this low, we will break up out of this low. I will sell at 24K about. I'll actually probably sell majority at about 22K to give myself a little room. But the nice thing about having a setup like this is you can be confident, right? Because you know it. I know this setup. I've traded it many times. And I'm 100% confident that as long as this bottom holds, this setup will play out. So as long as we don't break below this trend, this black bottom trend line, that ascending line, this will play out. This pattern will play out this way. Because I'm very confident, because I know the probability of it happening, which is very likely. For me, it's been around 70% that I've been getting on these. So about 70, well, actually I've gotten closer to 90%, but from back testing, you see it works about 76% of the time. from what I've seen. Now, this is really, really useful information, because if you're experimenting and you're trying to make money, you're going about it wrong. You need to experiment with small amounts so that you can find setups. And then when you have your setups, you just need to abuse them, basically. You just need to use that setup over and over and over again. And the more that you use that setup, the more that you'll know it, and the more you'll understand its outcome. So this is the setup that I generally use. It's one that I've been using a lot, like I said, and I think that we're in the bottom here on Ripple. So we're coming out of this setup, and let's see if it plays out here. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out to you guys so that you kind of understand the difference between a trade setup and experimentation, so that you don't screw yourself over doing one when you're supposed to be doing the other, and vice versa. But yeah, cool. Thank you for watching today's VIP video. I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. As always, stay profitable.